Teachers have played a significant role in shaping my life both academically and personally. For example, my second grade teacher, Miss Campbell, cared so much for her students that she flew across the country just to attend my high school graduation. And that's not something that's required in a job description. That's just dedication. In addition, my high school choir teacher inspired me to pursue a future career as a chorus teacher. That influence didn't just affect one class or assignment, it shaped my life. These experiences show that teachers are not just educators, they are mentors, role models, and in many cases, life-changing figures. Here's the problem. Despite their importance, teachers remain underpaid and undervalued in our society. According to the Learning Policy Institute in 2025, low teacher pay is one of the leading contributors to teacher shortages across the country. So today, I want to talk about why this problem exists, why it's so difficult to solve, and what we can actually do about it. Specifically, I will explain the current status quo of teacher salaries, identify the structural problems and barriers, and propose a realistic advocacy solution that students like us can help implement. One major root cause of low teacher salaries is limited education funding. Public education in the United States is primarily funded through the state and local budgets, which rely heavily on tax revenue. According to the Learning Policy Institute of 2025, this creates inconsistencies and limitations in how much funding is available. The problem is that education funding has to compete with other major public needs, like healthcare, public safety, and infrastructure. When budgets are tight, education funding is often one of the areas that gets constrained, which directly impacts teacher salaries, which is a root cause. Another root cause is societal perception. Even though teachers' pay is a critical role in shaping future generations, teacher is often viewed as a lower status profession compared to careers like business or medicine. This perception contributes to lower compensation and less policy urgency around improving teacher pay. There's also a deeper structural issue. Teaching is predominantly a women-led profession. Research by Allegro from 2019 shows that female-dominated professions tend to be paid less on average due to long-standing patterns of gender inequality in the workforce. So when you combine limited funding, societal undervaluing, and systematic pay disparities, you get the situation we see today. So now that we understand the causes, let's look at who is affected. The most obvious stakeholders are teachers themselves. Their salaries are directly affect their financial stability, job satisfaction, and whether they choose to stay in a profession long term. Teachers earn significantly less than other professions with similar levels of education, but teachers are not the only ones affected. When teachers are underpaid, schools experience higher turnover and burnout. According to the Learning Policy Institute, teacher shortages can lead to a larger class sizes, fewer course offerings, and lower overall education quality. Parents are often impacted because they rely on schools to provide strong education opportunities for their kids, as well as they need somebody to watch their kids while they're at work. And finally, policy makers are key stakeholders because they control education budgets and ultimately decide how much teachers are paid. So let's take a closer look at the deep structural problems. The core structural problems is teacher salaries have remained relatively stagnant over time due to long-standing policy decisions and funding priorities. For example, South Carolina, the average teacher salary is about $50,000 per year, according to Indeed. At first glance, this might not seem unreasonable, but it becomes a problem when you consider inflation. And here's this. At first glance, it might, according to the U.S. inflation calculator in 2026, A $40,000 salary in the year 2000 would be equivalent to about $70,000 today. So that means if salaries have increased slightly over time, they have not kept up with the rising cost of living. In real terms, teachers are significantly earning less than they were decades ago. Additionally, the Economic Policy Institute reports that teachers earn significantly less than other college-educated professionals, a gap known as the teacher pay penalty. This structural issue isn't just about numbers, it's about long-term policy choices that have consistently deprioritized teacher compensation. So, why hasn't this been fixed today? One major barrier is disagreement over taxes and government spending. Increasing teacher salaries often requires increasing education funding, which can involve raising taxes or reallocating budgets, both of which are policy controversial. These disagreements make it difficult for policymakers to reach a consensus. Another barrier is that education policy is largely controlled at a state level. This means there is no constant national standard for teacher pay, and solutions vary widely depending on the state. Cost of living differences across regions also complicate this issue, making it difficult to create uniform salary expectations. Finally, there is a lack of public awareness. Many people are not fully aware of how low teacher salaries are relative to their qualifications and responsibilities. Without public pressure, policymakers have little incentive to prioritize public change. Given all these challenges, what can realistically be done? A practical and achievable solution to establish a state-supported teacher pay awareness week combined with formal reporting requirements to state legislators. Here's how it would work. Each year, schools across the state would participate in a teacher pay awareness week. During this time, schools would host events that highlight the contributions of teachers and educate the public about salary issues. But more importantly, school districts would be required to publish transparent reports on teacher salaries, shortages, and turnover rates. These reports would be submitted directly to state legislators and departments of education. According to the Learning Policy Institute, data transparency is a critical step in influencing policy decisions. Additionally, advocacy groups, schools, and communities could use this week to promote discussions about how education funding and proposed policy changes. This solution works because it targets one of the biggest barriers, the lack of awareness. When people understand an issue, they are more likely to care about it. A scholar explains that public perception plays a major role in shaping education policy. Increased awareness can lead to increased public pressure. And according to Baker, public pressure is a key factor influencing legislative priorities on budget decisions. The required reporting also increases accountability. It ensures that policymakers cannot ignore the data and enforces the issue into public decision. While this solution might not immediately raise salaries, it creates conditions necessary for long-term policy change. But what can we do? Students have more influences than you think. You can start by sharing personal stories about teachers who have impacted your life, just like I did in the beginning. Shout out Miss Campbell and Miss Winston. You can also share factual information about teacher salaries and shortages from credible sources. Participating in school events during Teacher Pay Awareness Week would help build community and support. You can even contact local representatives to express support and increased education funding. These actions may seem small, but collectively they can create real pressure, which can lead to change. Teachers play a critical role in shaping future generations, yet they continue to be underpaid and undervalued. The problem exists because of funding limitations, societal perceptions, and long-standing structural barriers. And without action, these issues will continue to harm both teachers and students. Establishing a Teacher Pay Awareness Week combined with policy reporting requirements is a first realistic step towards change. Because at the end of the day, supporting teachers is not just about salaries, it's about investing in the future education in society. And the question is whether or not change is possible, it's whether we are willing to demand it. Thank you.